This is CBS News Bay Area with Juliette Goodrich.
Good evening. On this Labor Day, we're looking at a stunning shift in California's job market. The most recent state data shows for the first time ever, white-collar jobs in California are shrinking while blue-collar jobs are growing. You probably won't be surprised to learn that a big driver of that shift is AI. Salesforce co-founder and CEO Mark Benioff turned some heads over the weekend after appearing on a podcast to talk about slashing the number of jobs in his company's support division.
I was able to rebalance my headcount on my support. I've reduced it from 9,000 heads to about 5,000 because I need less heads. This is the most exciting thing that's happened, in the last 9 months for Salesforce.
All right. Now, Benioff was not necessarily talking about layoffs. He said a number of those support staffers have been shifted to sales and other divisions. But the principle is the same. AI has already started making some jobs obsolete, and now more and more young people are turning to the trades. John Ramos has more.
This is Los Medanos College in Pittsburgh. It doesn't get the billions of dollars that the state of California gives to the UC system. But in the world of AI, it may actually be training people for more resilient careers than people attending the larger, big-name universities. At Los Medanos College, they specialize in teaching hands-on trade skills, including using the latest technology to prepare young people for the workforce. But Jeff Andre, who teaches in the school's process technology program, says the tech can only do so much.
You can't build a machine that can think like a human or act like a human or look out for each other like humans can, right? So you do need the machines to make your processes successful.
But thinking like a human is exactly what Silicon Valley is trying to get machines to do, and there is a mad race to see how much of it can be put into various companies' workflows. Artificial intelligence is replacing human workers with computer-generated assistants known in the business as agents.
We're now providing digital workers, digital labor. And that is like the huge awakening that this is a new, exciting world.
On the Logan Bartlett podcast, really Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff talked about the impact of AI on his labor pool.
And as an example of that, look at engineering. I think in engineering this year at Salesforce, we're seriously debating maybe we aren't going to hire anybody this year because we have seen such incredible productivity gains because of the agents that work side by side with our engineers.
That may be exciting for Benioff, but for students studying engineering, not so much. It's becoming harder and harder for graduates of prestigious universities to find work at all. Michael Bernick is a workforce consultant and former head of California's Employment Development Department. He says it is white-collar professionals who will be the most threatened by the rise of AI.
The narrative of past Labor Days over the past 50 years has almost entirely been one of our blue-collar decline. Those jobs are making a comeback. And the important thing about those jobs is that they can't be replaced by AI.
For a long time, the state has steered students to four-year universities, in some ways stigmatizing community colleges and trade schools.
The problem is still, I think, the sort of prejudice of many people against blue-collar jobs, even though these jobs provide more valuable, direct, helpful services to people than many other jobs.
Bernick blames what he calls the education industrial complex. But now it looks like those who learn and teach an actual trade skill may be getting the last laugh.
We're really trying to reach people of all ages right now to say you don't have to just sign up for a four-year school if that's not your thing. Learn a trade, learn a skill, because if you do get a trade or a skill, you can take it anywhere.
Since the pandemic, there have been a number of forces driving the loss of jobs. AI is only one of them. But that technology is just starting to add its influence, making the ability to work with your hands a pretty valuable insurance policy.
A study released just last week by Stanford researchers shows the growing adoption of AI is impacting younger workers' job prospects. It found workers between the ages of 22 and 25 saw a 13% decline in unemployment since 2022 in jobs that heavily use AI, such as customer service and software development. Meantime, the state is trying to better prepare students for the changing workforce. Just last month, Governor Newsom announced partnerships with 4 major tech companies with the goal of bringing AI education to schools and colleges. The agreements with Adobe, Google, IBM, and Microsoft include incorporating their generative AI software into classrooms and providing training and support for educators. And tonight at 7, quick translations during a traffic stop with the help of AI.
Ms. Trin, do you normally travel on Lee Avenue?
Anything we can do to remove those barriers and remove those moments in time that we're not understanding what's happening, I think it is a huge value add.
We give you an exclusive look at the ways Campbell police are using artificial intelligence, some more controversial than others. All right, people across the Bay Area spent their holiday in protest, demanding U.S. leaders focus more on helping the average worker rather than the rich and powerful. So we're talking thousands of demonstrators from Walnut Creek to Oakland to San Francisco and beyond. Our Lauren Tom spoke with protesters in the city about some of the specific issues that drove them out to the streets today.
In San Francisco's Mission District, Labor Day took on a new rhythm as union flags, drum beats, and handmade signs transformed the holiday into a demand for change. These protesters calling out threats to workplace rights, immigrant communities, and public schools.
The people united will never be defeated.
Long-term care worker Dana was among a crowd of teachers, farmers, and health and trade workers. He swapped out his typical Labor Day barbecue for his first ever protest.
There's a wave, I think, that's starting. People are waking up, and if I'm doing this for the first time, there's going to be others doing it for the first time, and it's going to be up into the millions.
Carpenter Stephanie Lind says her union is feeling the pressure, and so are families relying on them.
Ice coming down on people who are in this country and our hardworking folks, people in our unions who have been in our unions, and those of us who are promoting unionism need to come together and need to stand up, because the Trump administration is not gonna do us any favors. We need to come together.
Educator Jeff Freitas warns that the impacts are reaching beyond contracts and into the classroom.
They're trying to ban books. They're trying to silence students. They're trying to prevent educators from doing what they need to do. And education is the foundation of our democracy. As now Trump wants to have voter ID restricted. They want no mail-in ballots. They're trying to restrict our democracy in this country. That's why we're out here.
The goal of protesters today, not just to call for change, but to demand it, hoping that their collective voices will be heard.
More than 4,000 protesters signed up to form a human banner as part of a Workers Over Billionaires protest on the peninsula. And the banner stretched along 17 miles of El Camino Real from Santa Clara all the way to Redwood City. People lined the route. They were holding flags and signs saying, "Save our democracy and crush ICE." We talked with Dion, who said she can feel depressed by current events, but events like this help her to feel like she's making a difference.
Coming out of a kind of depressed feeling that there's nothing I could do, and then having this wonderful organization behind me that has given us opportunities to have our voices heard. Decided I'd better get off the chair. Actually, I'm going back into the chair today, but...
Well, the same group formed a human banner for the No Kings protest back in June. All right, on this hot day, a brush fire caused a scare in Castro Valley. An alert wildfire camera captured some of the smoke it was sending up earlier. Firefighters responded quickly with air and ground crews. So the fire burned about 10 acres before forward progress was stopped. Our cameras on the ground showed crews using shovels to put out hot spots. The flames burned along the intersection of Palmeras and Palo Verde roads right near a residential area. Those homes now in the clear. One resident said he was prepared to put up a fight.
It was just immediately like protect the house, get the fire pump out from under the house, get the hoses, start spraying the tree line that was closest to the fire so we could prevent any spread from getting to our house.
Nice. And at last check, the fire was 60% contained, and the cause of the fire is still under investigation. All right, our inland area is certainly really feeling the heat again today. A live look over Concord. Let's show you that. There you go. Triple digits in some areas. Chief Meteorologist Paul Hagan is here with a look at some of today's hot spots. Hey there, Paul.
Yeah, it's still hot out there right now. Temperatures are still running well into the 90s, although the worst of the heat is now behind us. doesn't mean that it's still not full air conditioning weather for much of the Bay Area. San Jose's temperatures have dipped down to the upper 80s after you did hit 90 degrees earlier today. Still low 90s for Los Gatos and Morgan Hill. East of the Oakland Hills, this is where the heat really was. You see all the purple indicating triple-digit temperatures through the Central Valley. And we got up to that level from Fairfield to Antioch and Brentwood, Concord and Livermore, and you're still well into the 90s. 70s for San Francisco and Oakland right now, but it's still 92 degrees down the peninsula in Redwood City, and temperatures in the North Bay in the 80s to around 90 degrees as well. Now, as we head through tomorrow, yeah, it'll still be warm to even hot inland, but it won't be nearly as hot. A degree or two above normal around the Bay, 3 to 5 degrees above average farther inland. While that's still above what's typical for September, it knocks us down significantly in terms of the heat risk. That, for Antioch and Brentwood, some of the hottest spots, was in the very high category today. That gets pushed much farther down the chart as we head into the rest of this week. And we even have a stretch of below average temperatures in the long range forecast. We'll get into that coming up in the full forecast in just a few minutes.
All right, we'll take below average right now. Thank you. While some inland areas roasted today, it was much more relaxing weather along the bay and on the coast. It was actually pretty cloudy, but that didn't keep people from spending their Labor Day at Ocean Beach.
It's been really nice. I think typically we see this weather in October.
We know how it is in San Francisco. It's cold a lot of times of the year, so definitely nice for it to be warmer. You can be out in t-shirt and shorts and have a good time.
Beachgoers are warned to be careful in the water today. Watch out for those sneaker waves and rip currents from Santa Cruz to Marin County. The National Weather Service says the dangerous conditions will last through tonight. All right, still ahead here at 6, an East Bay institution celebrates 75 years. We'll meet the woman protecting the legacy of children's Fairyland and a supporter whose roots run deep in the park.
When kids and families come here, we want them to feel like they belong.
We're so happy to continue to celebrate and support Fairyland.
Plus, fighting for the revival of a community center destroyed in a fire, the emergency actions aimed at getting a jump on the rebuilding process. It is an Oakland staple. Storybook theme park Children's Fairyland hit a magical milestone today. The park is celebrating its 75th anniversary, bringing families along for the fun. Our Kevin Coe was there for all of the festivities.
Humpty Dumpty sat on this wall, and Humpty Dumpty has not taken his great fall for the past 75 years. That's because he's here in Fairyland, an Oakland institution that has persevered for more than 7 decades. Today is not just about celebrating this rich history, but also, hopefully, looking ahead to the next 75 years as well. Bubbles filled the air at the 19th Street BART station, where a parade kicked off the 75th birthday party for the longest running storybook theme park in the country.
This is Levi and Poppy. Can you wave hi?
Jacqueline Green is celebrating this historical day with her kids, carrying on her own family's history and traditions.
My grandmother was part of the founding team of Fairyland, and my mother was a character here. She was Alice in Wonderland. My sister was Alice in Wonderland, and I got to be Becky Thatcher in 5th grade.
Fairyland has been a long-standing source of creative inspiration, not just for kids, but also, apparently, Walt Disney. As legend has it, Walt Disney visited Fairyland here in Oakland, then used the inspiration to open Disneyland. But unlike the mouse, Fairyland sees itself less as an independent institution and more like a part of Oakland itself. It first opened up in 1950 as part of Oakland's Parks and Rec department.
We're not Disneyland, we're not Great America. When kids and families come here, we want them to feel like they belong, and so we want to make sure we're telling the stories that reflect what's going on in our community. 75 years is a flex. To be standing on any ground at 75 years is great. And so we're so excited to welcome all of our community in through our gates.
Fairyland CEO Kimberly Miller's excitement comes from years of dedication to Oakland families. The theme park held on through the COVID-19 pandemic and the ensuing stay-at-home orders, hurdling over close calls, allowing Fairyland to now average about 200,000 visitors a year.
Families have a safe place to recreate, to tell their own stories, to build their own narratives. And, that's just true of the city. Artistically, Oakland is the home of so many amazing artists, and we want to make sure that we're saving that home.
It's also about saving history, whether it's the 75 years here by Lake Merritt or a personal piece of history many Oaklanders carry on today.
As a young student, I had 2 little boys, single mom, and I brought them here to Fairyland. And I would sit on a bench and they would have a great time while I studied.
Whether you're the mayor or Jacqueline Green, Fairyland has always been a reminder that magic is never too far away.
To be able to share the memories with my kiddos is a dream come true. So we're so happy to continue to celebrate and support Fairyland. We absolutely love it.
A new bilingual puppet show is running every afternoon until October 26th. Tickets are $18 for kids, $20 for adults. When Children's Fairyland first opened in 1950, tickets went for less than a dime. A former community center in San Jose destroyed by fire, and now a group is pushing to preserve the program for future generations. The Mexican-American Community Services Agency, known as MAXA, opened in 1995. It served as a nonprofit job training site and refuge for Latino youth in the Alum Rock area for nearly 20 years. The building sat unused for 10 years before it was destroyed by a fire early Friday morning. On Saturday, the Alum Rock Union School Board voted to take steps to demolish the remains, but a local activist group wants to see it rebuilt and the program resurrected.
We need you to make a public commitment to reconstruction, to ensure the center to be rebuilt and to be safe for kids.
The kids still need a gym. They still need a library. They still need a place to go hang out and feel safe. A place for them to go when there's problems at home and problems in the streets. It can't be over yet.
The emergency vote was necessary to bypass the months-long process of putting the demolition out to bid. Next up will be approval from the County Office of Education before any work can begin. All right, coming up, this majestic sight that left spectators in awe in Pacifica today. It will be well worth the wait. Get it? After the break. Humpback whales put on quite the show in Pacifica this afternoon. The group Pacifica Whale Spotting says they stop here to eat anchovies. The group expects the whales to stay in the area for at least a couple days. They told us there is more activity earlier in the day. How cool. That's a fun activity to go check them out, especially when they're performing. They're putting on a show for their audience.
Maybe get a couple tail slaps here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're really lucky. It's pretty gray in that video, but the sun did emerge at the coast.
Right.
One more day of seeing some sunshine on the coast, and then you're back into the general grayness that you expect.
And then inland is...
It's going to cool down.
Okay.
So yeah, today was hot. Let's take a look at the big picture pattern. We'll get into some specific numbers, but today's weather pattern across the entire state was warmer than normal. Of course, the peak of that heat right through the Central Valley, all that purple indicating the triple-digit high temperatures. But take a look at the change that we're in for over the next few days. This is Thursday's pattern. That extreme heat largely gets erased from the map, but there's a catch. The same shift in the overall weather pattern that's going to give us relief from that inland heat is also going to send a plume of monsoonal moisture across the state, and that means a chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms. Not in the Bay Area, but close enough to us through the Central Valley and especially into the Sierra and Southern California. And whenever we have that chance of thunderstorms this time of year, there's the potential for dry lightning and the potential for new fires to get started, something we'll be watching very carefully over the course of the next 48 hours. Let's talk about what's going to happen a little bit shorter term than that. The fog, as we head through the rest of tonight, is reforming at the coast. It's still a very squished marine layer. It's very shallow because of the weight of that hot atmosphere on top of us. But the fog is going to spread back through the Golden Gate and try to make a little run into the North Bay valleys. Don't think it's going to make any progress into the Santa Clara Valley or through the Oakland Hills. And what fog is out there in the North Bay is not going to last long. Once the sun comes up, you're going to see the sun emerging and warming your temperatures back up. It'll be another warm day, even hot inland, but just not as hot as today. Temperatures are going to be 3 to 5 degrees above average instead of 8 to 15 degrees above normal like we were today. Mostly 80s in the Santa Clara Valley, up to 90 for Morgan Hill, and still mostly 90s east of the Oakland Hills, but no triple-digit high temperatures for tomorrow, and you'll continue cooling off the rest of the week. A mix of 70s and 80s around the Bay, mostly 60s at the coast, and the temperatures in the North Bay go from around 80 degrees to around 90 in Santa Rosa and into the low 90s still around Healdsburg. But for early September, that's really not that hot. That early morning fog will make a little bit of a difference. And the cool down will continue. Here's a look at the 10-day temperature trend for Livermore. Again, one more hot day tomorrow, a warm but normally warm day on Wednesday, exactly our average high of 87. And then we settle into a long stretch of below normal temperatures that'll carry us through the rest of the work week, through the first weekend in September, and most of next week as well. So just get through one more toasty day tomorrow. At least it won't be quite as hot as today. And temperatures inland are just going to continue running in the lower half of the 80s for the most part once we get to the latter half of the work week and then into the upcoming weekend. Looks like a pretty nice weather pattern overall. Temperatures around the bay, a mix of 70s and 80s, as I mentioned, for tomorrow, and then we settle back down into the lower half of the 70s. And we're back into our more typical back and forth fog pattern. The morning fog will give way to afternoon sunshine around the bay. It probably won't at the coast. The forecast tubes in the 7-day forecast make it look like you are never going to see the sunshine again at the coast. All that fog, some of it glimmering through, but the fog is going to be the dominant theme as we head through the rest of this week after tomorrow.
CBS Evening News is next. Local news always streaming on our service, CBS News Bay Area. We're back right here in 30 minutes with CBS News Bay Area at 7 o'clock just for you. We'll see you then.